At exactly the moment authorities told the public nothing unusual was happening, military trucks were already moving through residential streets. Hospitals increased security. Areas were sealed. Witnesses were warned, quietly, to stop talking. And in the middle of it all, three young women claimed they came face to face with something that was not human. Not a light in the sky, not a distant object, something on the ground. January 1996, Varginha, Brazil. What followed was not panic driven by imagination, but confusion fueled by silence. Because when nothing happened, there should have been nothing to hide. Yet files disappeared, statements changed, and explanations arrived only after the story had already escaped control. This documentary does not ask you to believe in aliens. It asks a far more uncomfortable question. Why does one small city still carry the weight of a mystery no one officially closed? Brazil in the mid-1990s was not a country prepared for national mysteries. Economic instability shaped daily life. Trust in institutions was fragile. Information moved slowly and selectively. Varginha, located in the state of Minas Gerais, was an ordinary city by every measure. No military base of major importance, no history of mass hysteria, no reason to become an international reference in UFO research, which is precisely why it did. In places where nothing ever happens, unusual events stand out violently. And in January of 1996, Varginha stopped being ordinary. The sequence begins on January 13, 1996. Residents reported a strange object in the sky, brownish, cylindrical, trailing smoke. Hours later, three young women walking through a residential neighborhood claimed they encountered a creature crouched near a wall. Their descriptions were immediate, specific, and deeply emotional. They ran. Within days, military presence increased. Army vehicles were seen transporting covered cargo. Hospitals reported unusual activity. Each event alone meant nothing. Together, they formed a chain. The three primary witnesses never recanted. They described a being with oily brown skin, large red eyes, and a strong, nauseating odor. Other witnesses came forward. A hospital worker described unusual military security. A local firefighter confirmed non-routine transport. Residents described intimidation. Subtle, but present. None gained financially. None sought prolonged exposure. Their accounts remained consistent, and that consistency became a problem. Unlike most UFO cases, the Varginha incident does not center on lights, speed, or distant aerial maneuvers. It centers on proximity. Witnesses did not describe something powerful or threatening in motion. They described something contained, something limited. The alleged being was reported as small, crouched, and visibly weakened. It did not run. It did not chase. It did not display aggression. This detail is often overlooked, but it matters. In cases of misidentification, fear often exaggerates danger. Here, fear existed, but the behavior described was passive. The skin was consistently described as dark or brownish, with an oily or damp appearance. The eyes were large, prominent, and intensely red. The smell, mentioned independently by multiple witnesses, was described as overpowering, similar to sulfur or ammonia. These are not dramatic details. They are sensory ones: sight, smell, stillness. If this was an animal, it was one no local authority could clearly identify. If it was a human, it does not align with any medical or social explanation offered. And if it was something else entirely, then its vulnerability challenges many assumptions about how extraordinary phenomena should behave. The reaction in Varginha was immediate and fragmented. Rumors spread faster than confirmations. Fear filled the spaces where explanations should have been. Parents warned their children not to walk alone. Schools became centers of speculation. Local radio stations struggled to verify anything concrete. Authorities responded quickly, but not transparently. Denials came first, details came later, and some never came at all. Hospitals, usually places of openness and routine, became points of suspicion. Security increased without explanation. Staff were instructed to remain silent. For many residents, this contradiction was impossible to ignore. If nothing had happened, why the sudden control? The event fractured trust, not because of what was seen, but because of how it was handled. And once trust erodes, speculation fills the void. Official explanations came gradually, and often reactively. Authorities suggested that residents had misidentified a common animal. Later, a more controversial explanation emerged that a disabled man had been mistaken for a creature. This explanation was met with widespread criticism. Not only did it fail to account for the reported smell, appearance, and behavior, it also raised ethical concerns about why such a narrative would be introduced at all. Other explanations included experimental balloons, debris, or collective misunderstanding. Yet no single explanation was supported by physical evidence. No detailed report was released. No timeline was officially reconstructed. The lack of documentation became the explanation. And for many observers, that absence spoke louder than denial. Where official inquiry stopped, independent investigation began. Journalists, researchers, and civilians attempted to reconstruct the timeline from fragments. Eyewitness accounts, media reports, and inconsistencies in official statements. They documented unusual military movement. They questioned hospital procedures. They recorded testimonies before they could change. Some investigators concluded that the case had been exaggerated. Others concluded that critical information had been deliberately withheld. But nearly all agreed on one point. The official narrative did not fully explain the observed reactions of institutions tasked with public safety. The Varginha Incident earned the label Brazil's Roswell, not because of proven parallels, but because both cases exist in the same space between denial and doubt. Skeptics emphasize how fear amplifies uncertainty. They point to rumor escalation in small communities. They argue that memory reshapes events over time. These critiques are valid, but they do not fully address why explanations shifted, why records were incomplete, or why witnesses maintain core details decades later. Supporters of the case argue that secrecy, not evidence, defines the mystery. Both sides agree on something fundamental. The incident cannot be reduced to a single misunderstanding without ignoring key elements. It exists in tension between explanation and omission, and that tension is what keeps the case alive. The Varginha Incident does not demand belief. It demands patience. It asks us to accept that some events leave behind questions instead of answers, and that those questions can persist without resolution. Whether the truth lies in misidentification, institutional failure, or something not yet understood, the impact on the city was real. Fear was real, confusion was real, silence was real, and sometimes it is not the mystery itself that endures, but the absence of clarity surrounding it. Varginha remains not as proof of the extraordinary, but as a reminder of how fragile certainty can be.